Hello, this is Matt from CVG, and I'm just going to take you through a quick preview of Yakuza Dead Souls. Kick things off, we start at Kiryu's orphanage, which you obviously recognise from Yakuza 4. He immediately gets a phone call at the start of the game finding out that his sort of adoptive daughter, Haruka, has been kidnapped. That's kind of where we leave him for now, because as with many of the Yakuza games, it's split into 4 distinct stories, and we're only going to cover the first 3 chapters. Which are all based around Shun Akiyama, who's the moneylender and the head of Sky Finance. So we start off as him, and he's doing his normal rounds, collecting money, and suddenly zombie apocalypse. He kills a few police officers and immediately retreats back to his office with Hana. Unfortunately, she seems to have the flu, so he has to run out to get medicine. As you'd expect with the Yakuza game, you get sidetracked as you're doing it, so it's not just a simple case of going out and getting the medicine, not least because the city's been closed off by the military. So getting around means that you have to crawl through sewers full of zombies. You'll be picking up new weapons along the way and meeting new characters. It all branches quite heavily. Obviously, one of the biggest selling points of this, or one of the biggest changes, is that it's all based on shooting rather than on hand-to-hand combat. And it handles it really quite well, but it also takes a little bit of getting used to, because it doesn't handle like a normal sort of third-person twin-stick shooter. The key difference being that you actually have to be facing in the right direction when you snap up your aim, so as long as you're facing vaguely towards the zombies, then you can sort of start unloading and pop loads of them. There is a free aim mode, but it's really, really fiddly, so you often find yourself just pointing your character in the direction of the zombies and just hitting fire quite quickly, which sounds rubbish, but it's actually really good fun. You can also strafe, dodge, kick back zombies, pick up weapons to knock them about, things like that. And every one of the characters has their own sort of unique set of weapons that has infinite ammo. So in the case of Shun, he's got a pair of pistols inexplicably called the Macedonian Twins. In addition to the Macedonian Twins, you can pick up weapons like Submachine Guns, which you will have to keep loaded, but generally the mechanic works quite well because you will be facing lots of enemies and you never have to worry about running out of ammo completely, but to be honest, the aiming system isn't precise enough that you want to ration your ammo, so it's kind of the best of both worlds really. As you kill more zombies and take out bosses and progress through the story, pick up XP, stuff like that, you can unlock soul points which you can pour into your character to increase their abilities. And obviously, this being a zombie game, the first port of call for me was to pour some of those points into the headshot ability. So when you're close to an enemy, you can just pull up the auto aim, it'll snap to a head. It sounds like a game-breaking mechanic, but in reality it leads to some quite brutal and fast-paced combat, and it sort of looks amazing as well when you're popping loads and loads of heads in a row. You can put points into things like the inventory, stuff like that, but at the moment we're just going to focus on the shooting. With that in mind, just a quick look at the new feature which is called heat sniping. So as you're playing through and you're gunning down more and more zombies, you build up your snipe gauge, and you can use this when it's full to pick specific targets like oil drums and car petrol caps, things like that. And you get a quick QTE after you fired your gun, key in the right input, and usually cause massive explosions which take out loads of zombies at once. It sounds terrible, again a bit like the shooting, but in reality it kind of fits into the mechanics of the game quite well. It's actually really good fun. Another thing worth mentioning is that you won't just be fighting zombies. The whole game feels a bit like a homage to Western zombie games, and with that in mind, many of the bigger enemies have been ripped straight out of games like Left 4 Dead. These guys, for instance, known as the meatheads for pretty obvious reasons, are essentially just tanks from Left 4 Dead. You also have screamers, which are kind of a cross between the witch and setting a car alarm off in Left 4 Dead. They'll yell out, drawing loads and loads of zombies to your area until you've killed them. And later on in the game you'll fight other bosses which are really reminiscent of stuff that you probably will have seen in Resident Evil. One final thing we're going to mention, especially for hardcore fans of the Yakuza series, is that it's still got all the weird side quests that you come to expect. I bumped into this guy who was fretting about having lost his wallet. Turns out he hadn't lost his wallet, and I get 500 experience points just for listening into his conversation, which is great, thank you very much. So wherever you go, you're going to bump into these sort of side quests which, even though you're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and your lifetime assistant is currently dying of the flu, you'll still find time to go and help out complete strangers, which is great. It's kind of exactly what you want from a Yakuza game. All in all, it looks pretty strong already. It's obviously completely crazy, as you'd expect, but it's still really, really good fun to play, and once you get used to the shonky controls, then you'll find it's actually quite a rewarding game. And the main thing, of course, is that it's completely different from anything else out there, so quite looking forward to playing the full game when it comes out later this year.